Welcome to another historical site survey. Today, I'm at the town of Grapevine. Well, it's not really a town, it's a ghost town. Grapevine used to be right here. This is the old ridge route in California, the road that united Southern California and Northern California. Made famous by Commander Cody in his song, Hot Rod Lincoln, driving up the Grapevine Hill, passing cars like they were standing still. I'm gonna go up here today and I'm gonna look at Dead Man's Curve. Dead Man's Curve is the most infamous section of any road in America. We're gonna take a real historical site survey of Dead Man's Curve. Below Dead Man's Curve was an area called the junkyard. Cars flew off the curve and landed in the creek. People died down there. I wanna get down there and take a look to see what is down in the area called the junkyard. Now what I want you to do, I definitely want you to subscribe to my channel. I've been taking a look at the Pony Express route, Wells Fargo stage, looking for cannibal giants in the desert. I've also been out Route 66, several places in Route 66. So subscribe to the channel, comment if you like, but definitely join me for my next video with a subscription. We're gonna go up the ridge route to Dead Man's Curve, and we're gonna do a complete site survey of Dead Man's Curve and look at the most infamous curve in America. Okay, if you want to get to Dead Man's Curve, there's only one way to do it. I-5 towards Los Angeles. It's Dead Man's Curve over there. There's a break in this guardrail. Get off right here and we will be at Dead Man's Curve. That's it. Let's go over there and take a look. Okay, there's the I-5 going to Los Angeles. Hundreds of thousands of people drive by this site every day. This is Dead Man's Curve. Cars would come down this section of road, approaching what was well known as Dead Man's Curve. Over here there was a sign. The sign said 15 miles an hour maximum speed. A lot of people ignored that sign. This is the original surface. This was poured in 1920. The surface of this road was poured. It hasn't been used in a long time. Look at the rocks that have come down from there and starting to cover the road. Mother Nature's trying to take her back. It was a very narrow section of road from here to over there. I would say barely enough room for two vehicles to pass each other. There's the old curbing. This is the original curbing, Dead Man's Curve, the ridge route, the road connecting Northern and Southern California. And at some point, the road was maybe slick, or there was a lot of accidents right up here. So what they did is they poured another rough surface over the top to try to give some braking friction for tires. So many cars wouldn't go off over the edge. Up ahead, that is the most dangerous section of the road. Cars that come down here, maybe lose their brakes, maybe get tired of following someone, try to overtake, perhaps it's at night, and they would go off that edge up there. That's the sharpest part of the turn. So we are right here in Dead Man's Curve, the most infamous part of any road in America. This is how it was laid. This is the layer of concrete. Originally, it was dirt. They laid this layer of concrete on top of the original dirt track in 1920. There's some of the 1920 rebar. This is the construction technique. It's held up pretty well, given the amount of traffic and the amount of time that has passed. This is what you would have seen in the 1920s, 1930s. Going from Northern California to Southern California. It was a long journey. You couldn't do it in a day. There were campgrounds, hotels, places for cars to stop and get work done. And right here, this is the worst part of the turn. Cars would come down here, fail to negotiate this turn, and go off that edge. Below there, in that creek bed, that's the area called the junkyard. So many vehicles went over this edge. People died down there. And in those days, an ambulance wasn't going to respond. You would maybe crash and wouldn't be found. You'd suffer down in the junkyard. Maybe crawl your way back up to the top of this road. That's why, one of the reasons, they say this particular section of the road is haunted. You may say, Jim, why do they call it Dead Man's Curve? And then you think, well, you know what? It's obvious, because people went over the edge and died in the junkyard. That's wrong. Dead Man's Curve is called Dead Man's Curve because there's a dead man buried here. There's Dead Man's Creek. There's Dead Man's Pass. There's Dead Man's Valley. Those are all named in early California place names because there was a grave nearby, and they named the curve for the dead man that was buried in the grave. Where that grave is now is sort of unknown. I'd like to find that original grave of the dead man. The Dead Man's Curve is named after. I found the grave of the dead man at Dead Man's Creek. He was bit by a rattlesnake and died at Dead Man's Creek. But I haven't found this grave yet. Is it up on the hill? It's possible. Is it further down the road that way? Maybe. It's going to take quite a site survey to pick it up. So I'm going to start looking around for that a little bit later. But first, I want to go down into the junkyard. Let's go down the side of this hill. It's very steep. It's 105 degrees. But I want to go down there and see what's down in the junkyard. So come on, let's go down there. So I'm now down below the curve. The curve would have been up here. This is where vehicles would have tumbled down over the side of Dead Man's Curve. Down here in this area, this was known as the junkyard. Okay, now a lot of the cars were salvaged during World War II for this scrap metal. But let's see if there's still some stuff around here. I just got down here, and so we're all gonna look at this together. Okay, looks like, yeah, this looks like an old fender of something. Possibly a fender or maybe just debris that fell off. Moving over here, definitely more from the junkyard. Some sort of part of a vehicle. Over here, more parts of vehicles. Let's see, moving this direction. Yeah, this looks like perhaps maybe even a Model T, or no, maybe that's older. I mean, newer, like a, I don't know, maybe somebody in the comments can comment below what type of vehicle is this. This is perhaps the back window. Maybe that's the side of it. Here's a definite fender still attached. There's the fender. This may even be the frame to the car, maybe not. Here's the gas tank. Looks like when it tumbled down over that side, looks like it totally came apart. Gas tank flew off. Doors are off. Here's the door. Here's more parts of the car here. So definitely car parts here that tumbled down into the junkyard. Like I say, a lot of this stuff was pulled out for scrap metal in World War II. But that's that vehicle. And if you look down here, it looks like there's more down here. So, oh, there's a big pile of cars down here. Yeah. So I'm sure I hope that people survived this back in the day. Looks like the bed of an old Model T truck, maybe. Here's the side of a car here. You can still see sort of the red paint. Looks like it has some red paint on it. Very sketchy down here, very steep, very sketchy. And yeah, it looks like this was red. It was definitely a red car. Sometimes they say look behind the back seats for change, but I don't think there's any change here. There's more cars down here in the junkyard. This was where cars would come tumbling off of the Ridge Route, Grapevine Hill, Dead Man's Curve. This is where it got its reputation, okay? These are people that maybe they survived, maybe they didn't. Hopefully they did. Here's one, looks like it's been hit with a shotgun blast at some point, but that's definitely a very old car. That is an old car there. There's the fenders, sort of a Bonnie and Clyde style. Here's the bottom of another old car down here in the junkyard. This looks like looks like the bed of a truck, sort of a short bed. This is the end of the bed. Looks like something out of like the Waltons or something, you know? So I'll try to back up, get a better view. Here's more cars in the junkyard. It's very steep. I wouldn't recommend coming down here. It's 105 degrees right now, but I'm here to do this, so I didn't want to miss it. These cars are probably, I mean, this is an old parts. It looks like an old Tin Lizzie or something. Very sort of a thin metal. Out here in California, these things don't rust though. They stay in really pretty good shape. It's not back east where there's salt and rust, and there's poison oak there, so we won't go into the poison oak. But here's another car down here in the junkyard. So I'm looking at, just in this one spot, there's gotta be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 old cars down here off of Dead Man's Curve, the most dangerous part of the ridge route. This is where Commander Cody, he sang about driving down the Grapevine Hill, passing cars like they were standing still. So look, this even had like some sort of a rudimentary sunroof up there, I think. I'm not sure. Let's try to get around the side of that without getting bit by a rattlesnake or falling into poison oak. Yeah, so here's this car. Oh no, that's the back end. It has a split window on the rear end. And then there's the other cars. Looks like they tumbled right into each other. One car has fallen into the other. So yeah, hopefully this is coming out on the camera. Never know about the lighting. Sorry, I'm just slipping and sliding here. Very difficult conditions out here. This very steep hill. So here's the other side of these cars that have fallen down into what was known as the junkyard off of Dead Man's Curve. The most dangerous section of the old highway connecting northern and southern California. Really the highway that united the two parts of California. There's a little creek down there. Probably more cars this way, but I think I have to turn off the camera because it's just, you need 2 hands and 2 feet to get around here. This is maybe, I don't know, another part of the car. Very interesting. There's the, let's try to get a better look inside this thing, just for the heck. I don't want to damage anything. This is all historical artifacts. There's the frame of the car. Looks like it completely came apart when it came down this hill. They fell, and it's something out of a movie or something, where the car just falls apart as it flies down this very, very steep embankment from 100 feet up. So there you go. Dead Man's Curve, the junkyard, ridge route, and I go back up on the road and do another survey of the road. So hope you enjoyed the junkyard. Didn't find any bodies, but I don't know. Somebody could have easily been thrown clear of the vehicle and never found in that bramble of brush. Okay, see you up on top. I hope you enjoyed that trip down to the junkyard. That is amazing. I had no idea there were so many junk cars down there. Old vehicles. Yeah, really amazing. There's probably, if I only looked at a small section, there might be more along the edge of this road. So yeah, that's very spooky how they must have just sort of fell apart as they tumbled down. People maybe flying out, crawling back up to the roadway. Maybe it's dark. Very scary, very spooky. Definitely Dead Man's Curve was well named because of that very dangerous section of road. So let's go back and take another look at the road. We'll walk this section of road, and then you can get a really good idea of Dead Man's Curve. Perfect. We were down in the junkyard down there. We talked about the reason for Dead Man's Curve right there at the most dangerous part of the turn. So let's look at the rest of the road that's still visible. Most of the old ridge route has been demolished, or it's off limits, or it's been dug up by the new highway. But let's look at Dead Man's Curve. Now, these rocks have fallen now, but I'm sure falling rock was a problem back in the 20s and 30s as well. I could easily see a rock fall back then, close the highway, people stuck here. This is the original roadway, Dead Man's Curve. Beyond us, the new highway. Trucks making their way up that steep incline. What a beautiful section of road. The condition is great. There's less potholes here than on the modern road. And this is 90 years old. Looks like some pottery or something here. Who knows what, an old crock. I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff. We're past the junkyard. The junkyard would have been down there. We're past this other area here. I believe there was a campground down in there. Somewhere there was a campground. Camp Tahone, I believe. It's either on this side or the other side. I'm not sure. If you're really interested in this road, you should get the book Ridge Route. It talks about all aspects of the Ridge Route, Dead Man's Curve, all of the different gas stations and service stations and small towns. Dead Man's Curve. Lots of poison oak here. It's all poison oak, so be careful if you come to visit. Looks like there was a fire here at some point. But yeah, that's gonna be it here from Dead Man's Curve. Hope you like this video. Please remember to subscribe to my videos to see more of the same. Got a lot of great stuff coming up. A lot of these historical site surveys. We get out, we actually walk the sites. We look at them very carefully, not from a distance. We don't sit behind a computer and talk about pictures. We get out here and we really look at these sites. So hope you enjoyed the video. Please remember to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Coming to you from Dead Man's Curve.